opportunity to refresh your home with quality American crafted furniture. Visit our showroom in Kokomo, Indiana today to take advantage of these incredible deals before they are gone. Shout out to Robert Miller, the partner for this show.
Thank you all.
What's going on at City Hall this week?
Oh gosh, we're gearing up for Kokomo Beach opening.
Heck yeah, brother!
A soft opening this weekend, just because we're still getting college kids in and high school kids scheduled and such. But I think we're set. They could probably still use a few more lifeguards or blue shirts. So,
just kidding, I'm not going to do this one.
Folks can still apply online or through the, not online, but through the HR department or Parks department if you're interested and decided to, I think I will spend the summer at the pool. So those are still available, but doing that, watching Jefferson and Washington get opened back up. So that's a few years in wait for that to happen. So glad that that's happening. So apologize for everybody navigating around that. Hopefully it won't be too much longer when they have that back open. So excited with that.
A lot of people are excited for that.
Yeah. I know, frustrated now because it's like, oh man, I got to go around and kind of navigate through and work around barricades and such. But hopefully it'll be done sooner than later if Mother Nature continues to cooperate and gives us beautiful days like this. Where they can knock that stuff out. That'd be great.
Absolutely. Love it.
Outside of that, just spring cleaning. I mean, we're getting ready. Should see the hanging flower pots going up this weekend as well. Additional plantings and such around the square and around the downtown area happening. If you've not been by the Hotel and Conference Center site, steel is going up at a rapid pace. Love that. So things are moving and shaking.
When is the estimated? When's that done?
Spring of next year. Probably late
so around
spring
a year
of
from
next
now.
year. Yep.
Nice. Very cool. Yeah. Okay. Well, if you have a question for the mayor, I see people popping into the live. So you're watching this live. Welcome to
Good
the
afternoon.
Moore Show.
Thanks
here
for
on the
joining
Kokomo
us.
Post. If you have a question for the mayor, just leave it down in the chat below. We have around a little over 20 pre-show questions sent in already. So we got a lot of questions coming in, people wanting to know some things going on in the city.
Great.
A lot of them are similar topics. We'll bounce around those today. But if you have any questions, I'll be pulling those over to my notes as they're coming into the live, watching this on multiple different streams that we got going on today. So I'll do my best to pull over what needs pulled over, but let's get into the questions today.
All right.
First one from Kathleen on Facebook.
Hey, Kathleen.
When does Kokomo get our own Doge? Which this is a comment about. There's a new federal department in the government called Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, famously ran by Elon Musk. When does Kokomo get one of those? Kathleen wants to know.
Don't know that there's anything formal like that. I know the State Board of Accounts will be up auditing us here the next few weeks or so. And so we've got that audit coming. That's something, an audit happens practically every year that they come in and check the books and such. And so make sure things are on the level. But outside of that, just kudos to our department heads doing as much as they do with as little as we have to give them at times, whether it's resources or manpower or equipment and such. So they do a pretty good job with managing and running efficiently themselves. Could there be more efficiencies? Absolutely. Could we be doing things better? Probably. So that's why we love opportunities like this, or even emails. Folks are emailing all the time that if they offer suggestions, not just complaints. I mean, the complaints come in, but the complaints that then have some type of solution or some type of suggestion on how best to address it are always welcomed because folks are out in it, and sometimes we don't catch it all. But nothing formal. Mr. Musk isn't coming down or sending a Doge ancillary force down to come and check it out. But we try to do our best with what we've got here.
Gotcha. Next question is from Ellen on Facebook. This was brought up, I think, last week or a few weeks ago too, because there was a story locally. How do you feel about a murder trial being dismissed, and do you feel that there is a problem with the judicial system in Howard County? So there's a few questions on court cases and even prosecutor and things like that. I think it's important because we'll ask questions, we'll talk about it, but the difference in the line between county and city when it comes to things like this. There is a line, and those are two different branches or two different like areas of government. But Ellen wants to know how you feel about a murder trial being dismissed, and do you feel that there is a problem within the judicial system here in Howard County?
Yeah. So the one that was actually dismissed, they said that they didn't have the staff to hear the case and such, and so I mean that's disheartening. I mean, yes, as you kind of alluded to, the city government has no authority over the county government. The county government handles the courts, and the courts kind of are their own beast as well. But get support funding wise and such from the county. But yeah, I mean, as for efficiencies there, or that led to that dismissal, it's disheartening. I mean, it's concerning. I mean, especially if there was enough evidence, to convict the individual. The other 2 or 3 that have been either the suspects have been found innocent or have been acquitted and such. Those were jury trials, and so that's concerning as well, unless the evidence that supported that, did indicate that they were innocent and acquitted. I mean, they were judged by a jury of their peers. But if part of that is because of the lack of certain evidence and such, I mean, that's something that both the Kokomo Police Department and Howard County Sheriff's Department to look at as they're obtaining information, obtaining evidence, and gathering that, I mean, for those specific cases. And so, yeah, I mean, it's concerning, that there seems to be, I don't know if there's necessarily a problem with the judicial system. Yes, if things are being dismissed because they can't hear it, yeah, that's concerning. There would be a problem with that. But if, again, being judged in a court of law by a jury of their peers, that someone is found innocent or not guilty or acquitted, then that sounds like how the court system is supposed to work. Unless again there wasn't sufficient evidence to have actually convicted those individuals. This is just something that our police department, specifically the detectives and investigative work, needs to make sure that they're dotting T's or dotting T's.
Don't dot those T's.
Don't dot those T's, crossing T's and dotting I's and getting the information, before those cases actually get to trial.
Gotcha.
So,
gotcha. Okay. Yeah. Just want to point that out. City, county, two different things. Yep. Next question is from Scotty on Facebook. Hey. Why are we wasting the police officers' time with marijuana busts? It's one thing if it's got major weight to it, but why pop little Susie or Johnny when they have a half a joint on them, when we have meth and heroin dealers along with pedophiles and domestic abusers here in Kokomo? That's where the community needs protection from, not some old hippie smoking weed to help his PTSD or back pain. Protect the kids from all those other people and
well, I think they're doing a little bit of both. I mean,
sure.
Yes. I mean, it's. I mean, people see arrests because of marijuana as being. I mean, it's frugal. I mean, it's not. I mean, it doesn't seem that it would be that, but it's still illegal. I mean, it's still illegal, and along this, I mean, you probably see that, or it's a more regular occurrence, or maybe it happened to that individual. That's where they feel that they or their friends, are being picked on and such. But I mean, it is an illegal substance for now. But all those other incidents, the individuals that they mentioned, whether it's methamphetamine and rapists and pedophiles and such. I mean, our police department is still working as actively as they can. I mean, and addressing those. That's why I mean we're being more offensive as opposed to defensive in regards to those, or active versus reactive in those cases. Which some people say, "Oh, crime's up. That's terrible." I mean, it's not those. The incidents are reducing, but I mean, being proactive. I mean, we're getting those folks off the streets, and so. It may not seem that the harder cases are being prosecuted or those arrests are being made as much as marijuana, but I don't know that there's just as many reports on the marijuana versus. So it sounds like something they may be familiar with, but again, for now. And again, the state legislature would be the ones to legalize that. I mean, for now, marijuana is still an illegal substance, no matter who's doing it, even though it probably does have benefits and medicinal type of opportunities, for it, we're still bound by that law.
Yep, still illegal. Next question is from Denise. She's got a few questions here.
Oh, good.
When are you going to make panhandling illegal in Howard County? Once again, city, county, two different things.
Yeah. Well, but it could still be an ordinance that we would pass, and in a lot of cases, panhandling, it's not, we never really know the folks, situation that they're in. It's something that we need to look at, as well as we continue to see that if they are becoming a safety risk by walking into the roadways or being a little too aggressive. I mean, we encourage folks to call the police department, or if you've got the 411 app on your phone, you can indicate, you can send that right away, and the police can come and ask those individuals to move along. But for now, it does appear to be, especially when the weather gets nicer and that the incidents are a little more frequent. Fortunately, it's not as bad as in other communities and what they're facing. But yeah, it's something that we look at the humane society, or the humane aspect of it, for those individuals, depending on what their situations are.
Well, next question kind of leads into that.
Okay.
When are you going to make homeless people stop hanging around the library downtown? I would love to take my kids to get books from the library, but there's always homeless people making messes and making us feel unsafe. That's been a thing for quite a while time. I mean, there's benches out there, as well as they can reach the Wi-Fi, I think.
Right.
But honestly, my family's had an issue there before.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure how much you could do with it.
And with that being a public area as well, I mean, the camping ordinance that was passed, I mean, those individuals are supposed to then be, encouraged to move along or to find shelter and stuff. But, during the day, I mean, yes, as you mentioned, they seem to gravitate there, because of the availability of the services, whether it's bathrooms inside or, like you said, the Wi-Fi, in that area and such. But if anybody ever feels threatened, I mean, yes, they're typically around, but more times than not, they don't approach folks. I haven't heard of anybody approaching patrons to the library as they're coming in and asking for money or food and such. I mean, yes, they're on the benches and they're there, but yeah, if they feel threatened, or if it continues to be an ongoing issue, again, they're encouraged to contact the police department, get the 411 app and indicate that, sending a tip or whatever, and patrol typically would then come by and encourage them to find someplace else to hang out, or definitely stay if they're there in the early mornings, as if they had spent the night and camping on those benches in the public areas.
Ellen, I see your comment live. You just missed it. We just asked your question, so watch the replay and we can go back and read that. Jordan Bell also makes a comment. Are there panhandlers causing you that much grief? I mean, I get it off them being aggressive or causing disruption. Feels like a just keep moving scenario though. Yeah, I mean, there's certain situations, and honestly, probably most situations, nothing actually even comes from that. What that last commenter was just making note of is the homeless people near that library specifically. Sometimes they do cause, some sort of disturbances down there. And a library is obviously a place where a lot of like young children are going with their families. So something to watch for sure.
I get that people's, get their heartstrings tugged on when they see somebody, and, but I mean, it's kind of that way. If there's panhandlers or the people asking for things, the more that folks continue to give them money or continue to give them things, just word gets out, and so others, come and they stand or they stay there longer and such. I mean, so if folks find other ways to support them or to direct them, I mean, we will. But it's people continue to give and support and such. I mean, that's why a lot of times they end up hanging around, which both good and bad. It speaks volumes to our community, which why a lot come from other areas in central Indiana, because they hear how giving the community is, whether it's not for profits or such. And so we sometimes become our worst enemies in that situation, if you want to call it being. I mean, it's just it's the nature of being Kokomo strong and supporting one another. Yeah, whether they're from Kokomo or not.
Next question is from Dawn on Facebook. Hey. When will WEA Drive, WEA Drive, get more lights and security in Indian Heights?
Depending on what part WEA Drive is in, I know that there's been 3 phases of the lights through there. A lot of that, and we've talked about this before, Duke Energy are the ones placing those lights, those street lights in for the city, and they need access. They need access easements to those properties where they've identified where poles need to go or lights need to be placed, and if the property owners don't give them the authority or the permission to place a pole there, then we've got to redraw and look. And so a lot of that is because they're still trying to get the easements from the property owners where they have identified the lights need to be placed. So hopefully it's coming. I think they're getting ready to install more of this second phase and work towards still getting easements for the third phase, but they're working on that. Same way with paving. I think we've got Council Ring on the schedule for this year, this summer, to do that long stretch of that. But while we're in there, we may do a few of the others. But Council Ring's one that, as we continue to look at the condition of the others, we would determine whether or not WEA would be one of those that would be placed on the list. Because I know someone had emailed just at the end of last week about Arrowhead. I mean, so there's a lot of streets in through there that probably need some attention, and we're slowly getting to those as we can work those in while still sharing the love in other parts of the city.
Gotcha. Sandy's question on Facebook. Hey. Her only concern is figuring out the insane rent prices. Can anyone in the office help with this?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, the only thing that we can do with that is kind of what we're doing and trying to light a fire under is some more housing starts. We've got some more multifamily units that are in the process of being built. A site prep is being done. So as we continue to add to the volume that we need to support that, that will then eventually bring rent prices down, because right now, because it's like we've talked about before, it's a supply and demand thing. I mean, because there's limited supply and a greater demand, I mean, property owners, whether it's apartments, whether it's houses for rent, see that opportunity, and because they can collect what they do with what they're charging, the limited supply versus the higher demand is what's driving not just home sale prices up, but rent prices up in both apartments and house rentals. So until we start bringing more opportunities in to kind of level that out and make it more competitive and drop those rates, we're just going to have to weather that storm.
We've talked about this before too. I mean, along that trend of rent prices going up, as well as just interest rates have gone up too. So you might have like a real estate investor who buys a home. Their rate now is 7.5% compared to maybe it was 2.5% to 3% a few years ago. So their cost is higher, which means rent has to go up with it. So interest rates play a big role into that too.
And there are people that would have a problem with government coming in saying, all right, we're setting rent rate, you can only do this. Now, I know Fishers has recently passed an ordinance there that on investment homes or rental homes in neighborhoods.
Literally made a note of that.
That only 10% of a given subdivision or neighborhood can be investment or rental properties. So, I mean, I'd be interested to see how they define subdivisions or neighborhoods. I mean, because something like that could have an impact on those, but. I mean, just how that gets regulated, and is it once they reach capacity? If somebody turns around and sells one, I mean, can they stay at the 10% level if it's a rent-to-own situation and the home gets done, or if a residential area, if it's permitted because there's a spot in adjacent to that neighborhood or in that neighborhood or subdivision that gets rezoned and they put apartments up. I mean, apartments up are. Does that then, I mean, are they not allowed to put available, affordable housing, in those areas because they've already at the 10%? I don't know. I'd have to look to see what what they've done. But it'd be interesting because I think Fishers is the first one that's trying something like this, just to see how it is. And it's again, government coming in and saying you can only do this or you can only charge that. So
well, a big part of it too.
How he does.
I mean, just through conversations we've had on this show over the years, so many rental homes, specifically in Kokomo and Howard County too, are in no way owned by a local landlord.
Somebody right.
Like there's a lot of people in California, Texas, New York, all these like real estate investors all over the country come in and buy a home in Kokomo, and they expect rental prices in Kokomo to be what they are maybe in another state, and maybe they don't do enough research, and they have local property managers, but who knows what they're actually doing, so it's there are so many variables to that. But okay, next question is from Tammy on Facebook. Why do folks that work for the city and their moms, special Mother's Day deal, get to rent HUD houses and skip ahead on the list? That is sad because there are people who really need these homes, but you give them to able bodies who can earn a living. Tammy on Facebook. So coming in with the accusations there.
So, I don't know if the housing authority has, actual homes. I know they're working on their RAD conversion where they're going to do single family homes, and there may be some that they have in their inventory and such, but similar to city and county, the housing authority that manages still a handful of subsidized housing, or what could be considered HUD Section 8 housing, as well as the vouchers, two different entities. They're a branch basically of the federal government, so the Department of Housing and Urban Development. The only connection that the city has to the local HUD housing or the HUD office is that I get to appoint their governing board. So having the board there, and really the board doesn't review the applications or make the decisions on who is approved for those. So that would be a question for the local HUD authority office as to how availability, how they go through their list and make those vouchers available for that type of housing. So I don't know I don't know what specific incident that they're talking about a city employee and her mom. I don't know.
Gotcha. Okay.
We don't look at that either.
Next few questions are all like pothole and road related, which we are coming up to Indiana's 5th season, which is construction season. So maybe, things like this. But Joe on Facebook, when are we fixing the potholes there? And also wanted to know about rent prices. We just talked about that. Zachary on Facebook, please, Mayor, pave these roads. They're horrible and they're doing damage to our cars. Raymond wants to know, why do all the roads suck? Those are specific ones. So, Trent also wants to know, when's he going to fix all the potholes? Nat Nadine wanted to talk about the potholes / speed bumps on 931, which we talked about that a little bit last week. So, it's that time of year, right? Like winter is officially over and we're, done like the patchworking for potholes, and now like construction season
or
is
the
coming
winter.
up,
Yeah.
right?
But because we've got limited, availability and resources in order to pave. I think we mentioned it last week too. We'll end up paving. We're slated to pave between 8 and 11 lane miles of streets, roads, and alleyways in Kokomo. And so going through that priority list to see what, we're not going to get to all of them. And unfortunately, as much as we would like to, that would be great. But there are areas that will just receive, Band-Aids. And if there's still potholes available, we still got our patch buggies out, filling areas that aren't on the actual paving list because it's only certain sections. And so if they know of potholes or locations where their potholes are located that are wreaking too much havoc, they can call the street maintenance department. They can email me, mayor@cityofkokomo.org, and I can forward that along. We just need to know an address or landmark as to where those troubled areas may be. And if it ends up being a stretch that's on our paving list for the year, we'll get to it, this year, maybe next. Otherwise, we'll still send the buggy out to see how best to fill it and Band-Aid it for the time being. But I get it. I drive the streets too, and it's a frustration of mine. I mean, I wish we could do more with what we've got, but with the limited, manpower and resources and such, and with their duties as well in the street maintenance and refuse department, they do the best they can and are, I guess, subject to weather conditions and asphalt availability, or even when the milling machine's up or when it's not. So they try to knock it out and address all that we can. But if there's specific areas where there's potholes, let us know. We can get the buggy back out, and it may even be something that it's slated to be addressed in a short section of that street to begin with.
Gotcha. Michael on Facebook, as well as Dina on Facebook, have questions about stoplights. So I'll just read both of these.
Okay.
I would like to know why this town has so many jacked up stoplights. Green arrows light up when no one is in the turn lane. It's like they are set up to make people stop every block, and then there's no cross traffic. I think it's a control issue. Dina says, why are there so many no turn on right signs at stoplights? Why can people only turn left on an arrow at a stoplight? If there's no oncoming traffic, regardless of what direction I'm turning, why must I wait? The city needs to update stoplights so that we can stop, or so we can be more efficient.
Sure. So yeah, it probably is a control issue. Not that we're controlling, those intersections, but it could be because they're electronic devices. There could be that they're malfunctioning or tripping down in the pavement themselves because there's sensors there. If there's specific intersections where there's issues, folks are encouraged to let us know. Again, shoot me an email, mayor@cityofkokomo.org, with an intersection where there's something that can be addressed or looked at. We send the engineering department out to check it out, or even traffic, because the lights within the city limits are controlled by that. If it's lights along 931 at those intersections, that's NDOT, but we can still, if there's, using Center Road as an example, or even I know recently there was the lights at Dixon and State Road 26 that weren't changing, weren't allowing north-south traffic, the opportunity to turn or to go through, even though those are NDOT, and we can still let us know, and the engineering department can reach out to NDOT to have them address those. So yeah, those along State Road 26, those along 931, those are lights that are controlled by NDOT, but that we can still get information to them to have them addressed. But otherwise, in and around the city, if we're not at them, and there's times when they feel like they're waiting, please let us know. As for protected left turns and such, that's just a safety issue. I get that that some of the state lights now that are green arrow only, they are still red, and then when there's through traffic going, they start flashing yellow, and it's the you still, as long as you yield, can turn left. But I know that a few of those along 931 got switched back to hard left turns on green arrows, just because folks were getting a little too comfortable thinking, oh, it's yellow and I'm going, and thinking that it was, or getting confused that it was a protected left turn. So, situations like that, it's for a reason, for safety reasons. Same way with no right turn on red. A lot of times it's because of the maybe it's a blind intersection in some aspect, or just higher traffic volumes that if somebody's turning right and somebody's barreling up on them, it can either create a safety issue or road rage issue as well. So a lot of it is because safety, but still check it out and let us know if there's specific issues, especially with lights or turn signals.
Gotcha. Beth on Facebook, as well as Cheryl on Facebook, have comments about Markland between Washington and Apperson, and says we need more lanes on Markland between Washington and Apperson, says Beth. Cheryl says, when are we going to do something about the traffic on Markland? It is almost always backed up. Not sure if the lights are staying green long enough or what. Part of it is the stupid road diet, but it has been horrible lately. I experienced that on Sunday. I promise it was maybe a 3 to 4 minute delay. Everything is fine. But what do you have to comment on that?
Yeah. So, the reduction, the east or the west end from west, Apperson back was previous administration, and then we did control measures down towards the east side towards 931, but still left the 4 lanes there. A lot of that, I think, the increased traffic is because kind of what they were talking about. I mean, with 931, with the work that's being done, that people are lovingly calling the speed bumps out there, or what they're doing to put monitors in it, which they're not. But I think a lot of people are avoiding 931 right now because of the speed bump issue and everything, which has increased, traffic in town, whether it's along Dixon, whether it's up and down Washington, or east and west along Markland. And so I think once 931, is completed, that'll help. Could be folks avoiding Washington right now because of Jefferson being closed, that they're heading up Markland to go around, up to 931 and around. I mean, so I think just with a lot of the construction and maintenance that's going on now, that has increased the traffic there on Markland. So hopefully that'll alleviate once things get completed and open back up. But just like everybody's saying, get rid of the bump outs, get rid of that stuff with the amount of money that it costs, or that it costed to begin with to put them in. It would cost just as much to take them out, and all that does is take money away from additional road projects that we feel need to be done, as opposed to going back. Which I get that people think, then why are you spending the money on Jefferson and Washington, opening that back up? I mean, that was an issue to begin with. I mean, so with the money that we're spending to open that back up, that's well spent.
It's one of the smaller ones too, right?
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, it's just priorities, and we would like to continue to do, what we need and what we can on getting the streets addressed before or instead of correcting things that, may have been done. But again, with everything that's going on 931 and other areas, I think it's just, these last few weeks, Markland's been a lot busier because people are trying to avoid what's going on elsewhere.
Gotcha.
So hopefully it opens back up better.
Nadine on Facebook's got her tinfoil hat on. I would like to know why the street department cut all of those holes in 931 on one day and then filled them back up the next day. I've heard a couple stories. One isn't plausible and the other is a bit scary. The first one is totally bogus. There's no way pipes were laid in all of those holes. Something is going on, and unfortunately, my trust in our mayor is severely lacking these days. My dad always told me, believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. That's how I feel right now.
Okay.
Nadine on Facebook.
So 931, as we've mentioned, is not a city led or city controlled project. It's NDOT, and they're addressing
which is the state.
States.
Yeah.
So it's a state road. A lot of people thought that 931 was given to the city for control once 31 bypass was put in. It's not. They're still both state roads, which again, they have control over the lights at those intersections. They're control of the pavement, and so they're working on the underdecking, and will soon mill all that and repave all that. And obviously, we'd like it done sooner than later, but they're the ones doing it, and I can probably try and go and poke and prod them, but with being a state agency, they're going to go at their pace. And so I apologize that my lack of authority over the state's Indiana Department of Transportation is making her question my abilities or my job as mayor. I will promise to try and do better.
Okay. Rich coming from somebody who probably alphabetizes their soup cans. Next question up is from Marilyn on Facebook. Why are we spending over $40,000 a year to put in pretty flowers and trees on the roads and paying city workers to maintain/water them? I feel like there's got to be better ways to put that money, better ways and places and things to put that money towards. I have so many questions, but this is one that has always bothered me. We spend so much money on trying to make it look pretty here and bringing all these fancier big buildings in, and yet there's potholes that can eat the whole tire all over the city. Marilyn on Facebook.
So beautification, you'd be surprised, and I get it. People that live in Kokomo, and you see them like, flowers don't matter. I already live here, and but even the number of folks that live here and appreciate the care and the extra effort that's given to beautification, whether it is the potted plants, whether it's the the banners, whether it's the trails. I mean, there's a lot. I mean, and it's two different buckets? Sure. Could we move a little bit of the money from, the hanging baskets, over to the streets? But, again, the what appears to be a large waste of money, 30 to 40,000, if that, put that in the streets, that may cover, not even the full ton of asphalt to be laid. And so, I mean, it's efforts like that are put in, in beautification and such, that come from two different funding sources within our budget. It's just something that, people appreciate, that people like. I mean, it shows, it gives a little more pride, to our community. I get that. Okay, well, you're putting the baskets up and the trees up and everything to try and distract us from, the condition of our streets. No, we're trying to address both. We just can't get to, every street that we'd like to. And, an extra, 30 or 40,000 pulled from the hanging flower baskets, which, again, some of the cost savings in that is that volunteers are hired to come in and place those, or fill those pots, before they're hung. And once they are up, I mean, yes, there's the night crews that water those and care for those, but it's only, a couple people, 2 to 4 people, during the summer months when they're up, that are part-time seasonal, to manage those. And so, the costs aren't actually as salty as what a lot of people think for the amount of compliments and appreciation that we get from folks that come to our community and visit, or even those that are here and appreciate seeing those. So, I mean, it's kind of a give and take. It's a delicate balancing act. I mean, there are probably a lot of things we could nickel and dime at and look at, but I think that's one that again shows a little bit of pride for people that come in, from out of town during the summer months for festivals, for baseball games, for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. And I think sometimes too, when you live here and call this place home, you don't realize that there are people coming into this city as frequently as it is with like Championship Park. I mean, folks, there's a reason there are 10 like massive hotels in Kokomo. Mm-hmm. Like those aren't being used just by people that live in Kokomo that need a staycation. You know what I mean? Like there are people coming into this town quite often. And Jordan in the live chat, he says city beautification is a double-edged sword. And it's just, that's kind of very true. Bobby on Facebook wants to know, when are we going to have a safe place to take young kids that isn't super expensive?
I mean, our parks, unless,
is there a cover fee at the park?
There's not a cover fee at the parks, but I know that, sometimes, especially in the summertime, if there's teenagers and stuff, there's, a lot of activity. We will have patrol out on a new fleet of electric bikes making their way along the trails into the parks more frequently, which will be nice. Kokomo Beach is very safe and, in my opinion, inexpensive compared to what other communities may have or not have. I haven't been to Gravity since my kids were little, so I don't know what the costs are for that. But as for other safe places for them to do, I know we're looking at what possibilities there may be. It comes down to funding, or even if a private investor comes in and wants to look at something similar to a small children's museum. There may be we're tossed around that idea for the National Guard Armory once it's reassigned and out of or decommissioned. So there could be a possibility with that. It's just trying to find best ways. I know that it won't be indoors, but by the end of the summer, we'll have a new miniature golf course through the Parks Department in partnership with Bridges Outreach over at Cutler Park, which is the old East Side Little League area by Elwood Haynes School. So there'll be that opportunity as well. Right now, Kokomo Raceway Park down south, I think they're back open as well. That's a fun and safe place for folks to take families. So there's a few options, but always open to partner with anybody that has some ideas in mind.
Got it. And then we have 2 live show questions today that I want to make sure we get to. First one is from Jason on live chat. Hello, MTM. Are we still trying to get a soccer team back into the stadium? Also, you're doing a great job with all the parks upgrades.
Thank you. Appreciate the compliment on the park upgrades. That's Tori Rowe and our park staff, best utilizing those funds for that. But as for the soccer team in the stadium, nothing definite. I know there was a soccer team that had started last year. I haven't seen or heard anything. The Vipers, if they're back in season this year. I know that they were playing out at Kokomo High School on their soccer field. Again, that was just because of scheduling conflicts with the former Jackrabbits team that was here. So if they're able to work something out around the schedule, there might be that possibility. But the municipal stadium, primarily wants to be used for baseball games, community events, and such. I know that IUK women's soccer, Cougars use that as their home field as well. But if it presents itself, absolutely, it can work that in. But I haven't heard anything from the Vipers this year. But I know that they were out at the Kokomo High School last year. I don't know if they got any games in the stadium last year or not. So
I'm not sure actually either.
Don't know if we will.
I know IUK plays out there, the soccer team. Jordan on live chat wants to know, the homeless in our community is definitely growing and a problem that should be addressed. However, is the city doing anything to help alleviate this growing trend of homelessness? Not trying to be sarcastic, asking seriously. Jordan on live chat.
Yeah. Partnering with Rescue Mission, because I know the Rescue Mission is working on their new facility, and I know that will provide more opportunities for beds for men. Actually, and there will be opportunities for families as well for dining and to get out. So, we're assisting with that. I don't know if the homelessness is actually growing. Yes, it's been an issue. It's been a concern. It's something that we've talked about and tried to find ways either with nonprofits or churches to possibly help address. But initially, our efforts in assisting with the Rescue Mission, hopefully will provide that evidence. But outside of that, just having the camping ordinance enforced, local businesses downtown working with the police department to put folks on trespass so that we can, slowly start sending a message. especially for those that come from out of town, because of what they hear, how giving that the Kokomo community is, that if the message gets out that, hey, there really, isn't that availability, there's not, the resources for those from out of town, hopefully that will encourage them to look elsewhere. But in the meantime, and like I said, you never know, there are specific situations, and so we try to be delicate with that, try to be as humane as possible with that as well. And just like beautification, it's a double-edged sword.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. Sweet. Those are the questions we had. Thanks for all the comments.
Thanks, all.
You guys were having good conversations in the chat today. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching this episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show here on the Kokomo Post, partner with Robert Miller and Son Furniture. Mr. Mayor, do you have a dad joke for us?
Love spending time in schools, visiting classrooms and such. And I went to a class last week. They usually have caterpillars that they then watch become butterflies, or small chicks, eggs that they hatch, whatever. So this one class had 2 silkworms in a container, and they said that these 2 silkworms have been wrestling in this container for over a month.
Just a constant fight?
Constant wrestling match between the 2 silkworms, but it just ended in a tie.
A silk tie?
A silk tie.
There it is. Made in America. Thanks for watching this episode of the Mayor Tyler Moore Show here on the Kokomo Post. If you have any more questions for next week's show, I will not be here, so I think Bree will be hosting the show next week.
No.
So be nice to her.
Great.
Be nice. She's in the chat.
I'm going to give her a hard time, too, for calling me out at the Bobcats game the other night. Luckily I didn't airball the half-court shot, but...
There you go.
She was saying, hey, let's see who's excited, who's going to be the loudest to come down and do the shot or whatever. And I'm just there, got my hat on, just kind of mind my own business. And
it's the mayor.
By golly, I guess I was loud enough that let's see if he can hit a shot.
You need a better disguise. So Bree will be here next week, but make sure to leave those comments and those questions in the chat, as well as we always post something on Mondays as well, where you can leave those or leave your questions there, or you can always email us at Aaron, ERIN, at thekokomopost.com. So shout out to everybody for participating in the live chat. Thank you guys, and thanks for watching Kokomo. We'll see you next time.
All right, see you, Kokomo.